has a smile that lights up a television screen from here to Bangor, Maine.
One of the greatest players of all time, Elton John.
It's showtime.
We are still waiting, and obviously the anticipation is getting worse and worse. We would like to get an answer sooner or later. Quickly tell us what is going on here. It is a very tense place.
The news is so shocking and so unexpected, it is difficult to absorb it even as we report it.
First of all, let me say good late afternoon. Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today.
Scarcely 100 feet above ground, the giant airship with her framework encasing 7 million cubic feet of inflammable gas is being carefully maneuvered towards her hangar, when suddenly...
All of us on the show are so darn sorry, and sincerely sorry, that this is the third and thus our last current show with the Beatles, because and that goes for all of us on our show.
How long are you going to be over in our country? When are you coming over?
30 days. We're going over about the 13th, I think. The 13th of August. Yeah. Whenever the film starts, it opens in New York, and we're going to be there then. And we're in San Francisco on the 19th. So it'll be early in August for 30 days.
Then you're going to do a tour of about 25 American cities?
Yeah.
25 in 30 days.
I was reading in the papers here on the way over, there was a dispatch from Australia, and they said that when are you going out to Australia?
June, the 9th of June.
That's June. They said there that they're going to close the airport.
The shooting happened at the Dakota apartment building minutes after John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono left a recording session. When they got out of their limousine, a waiting gunman said, "Mr. Lennon," crouched in military stance and squeezed off at least 4 shots from a .38 caliber pistol.
Good evening. The death of a man who sang and played the guitar overshadows the news from Poland, Iran, and Washington tonight. Former Beatle John Lennon, who was 40, was shot and killed last night outside his luxury apartment in New York. The alleged killer is an unemployed security guard and printer who had lived in Hawaii.
All of a sudden, I heard 5-6 shots, and that was it.
4 cops pulled John Lennon out and put him into the back of a police car, and his mouth, he was bleeding from his mouth, and it was a terrible sight.
And during the day, the Woodstock Music and Art Fair, the 3-day Aquarian exposition at White Lake and Bethel, New York, will give you uncomplicated, unhurried, calm days of peace and music. Friday, August 15th, you'll hear stars such as Joan Baez, Arlo Guthrie, Tim Hardin, Richie Havens, Ravi Shankar, and many others. Saturday, August 16th, Canned Heat, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, Jefferson Airplane, and The Who. Sunday, August 17th, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Santana, Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Winter, and that's not all. Campgrounds will be open for 2 days before the festival. There are over 600 acres of land to roam, bazaars to browse, creative workshops. Heavy traffic is anticipated, so leave early if you wish to arrive on time. Tickets for the Woodstock Music and Arts Fair are $7, $14, and $18 for 1, 2, or 3 days and can be purchased.
Good afternoon from New York. We're coming on the air with breaking news, very sad news to tell the sports world. The LA Times is reporting that retired Los Angeles Lakers basketball star Kobe Bryant has been killed in a helicopter crash. It happened.
Retired NBA star was killed after his personal helicopter crashed into a steep hillside Sunday morning, killing everybody on board, including his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna.
Seconds after the helicopter carrying Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others crashed last month in Calabasas. Investigators believe poor weather conditions and pilots.
And I said, hold on, let me verify it. And I called my guy from the sheriff office. He said it was true. I start crying. And I'm like, damn it, I didn't even holler at him.
Now to major developments late today in the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash investigation. The preliminary report from the
CNN is able to tell you now that NBA star Kobe Bryant was on board that helicopter and is now dead at the age of 41.
There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this. One of the atomic reactors at the Chernobyl atomic power plant near the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died. The Soviets may have been fairly quick to acknowledge the accident because evidence. in the form of mild nuclear radiation had already...
It's now clear that the Soviet Union has suffered one of the worst disasters in the history of nuclear power. Ukraine. Many thousands of people live in the vicinity. Moscow admits there have been casualties, and signs are that a big relief operation is underway. This report from our European correspondent.
Good evening, Eric, and it is just that. South Africa's President F.W. de Klerk ended the suspense at 5 o'clock this afternoon, South Africa time. Nelson Mandela to be released tomorrow, and as you might expect, that is a moment that this country will not soon forget.
This is a special edition of Sunday Report. We're taking the time usually filled by Venture to bring you comprehensive coverage of a truly extraordinary day. A day so many have waited for so long. The day Nelson Mandela was freed from prison.
They do not support it only in rhetoric. They are placing resources at our disposal for us.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. It was nearly 10 years ago, after years of painstaking work by our intelligence community, I was briefed on a possible lead to bin Laden. It was far from certain, and it took many months to run this thread to ground. I met repeatedly with my national security team as we developed more information about the possibility that we had located bin Laden hiding within a compound deep inside Pakistan. And finally, last week, I determined that we had enough intelligence to take action and authorized an operation to get.
I had one.
As Matt just mentioned, we have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York City. It happened just a few moments ago, apparently. We have very little information available at this point in time, but on the phone, we do
America is pounded in the world's biggest terrorist attack. Thousands are feared dead after New York and Washington have been hit.
It's quite terrifying. I'm in shock right now. I came out of the subway at Bowling Green. I was heading to work in Battery Park at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and I come out, and I heard a boom, looked up, and there was a big ball of fire. I'm now looking north at the World Trade Center, and it is the left Twin Tower if I'm looking north. I'm in Battery Park right now, and you can hear the fire engines and the emergency crews behind me, and...
Picture has just been transmitted by wire. It is a picture taken just a moment or two before the incident. If you can zoom in with that camera, we can get a closer look at this picture. In Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago. Vice President Lyndon Johnson has left the hospital in Dallas, but we do not know to where he has proceeded. Presumably, he will be taking the oath of office shortly and become the 36th President of the United States.
The World Health Organization says a mysterious new virus detected in the Chinese city of Wuhan is likely to be from the same family that produced the deadly SARS and MERS outbreaks.
Earlier this week, the government in Wuhan released an edict, round up suspected coronavirus cases, and if the person refuses to cooperate, it said, public security shall enforce.
The deputy director of China's National Health Commission, Li Bin, announced this morning that there are now 440 confirmed cases of the new coronavirus, and a total of 9 people have died. And fears are rising as the virus has now spread to South Korea as well as the U.S. Our Lee Kyung-in.
The mystery virus started here in the city of Wuhan. Chinese authorities pinpointing
last week with pneumonia, but was later confirmed to have the Wuhan coronavirus.
The virus has already spread beyond China's borders to South Korea, Thailand, Taiwan, and Japan, but it is the first time it has appeared outside Asia.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island.
We and the Cubans decided that in order to avoid a United States invasion, we should supply Cuba with missiles.
The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere. Upon receiving the first preliminary...
The fall of 1960, John Fitzgerald Kennedy campaigned for president. The seeds of the Cuban crisis were being sown. Kennedy campaigned as a tough, cold warrior, the man who would confront the Russians everywhere in what he called a global battle for survival.
Although 2 shots have been fired, it seems as if no one is hurt, until Count Harrach notices the Archduke is bleeding.
As I pulled out my handkerchief to wipe away the blood, Her Highness cried out, "For God's sake, what happened to you?"
As the crowd tries to subdue Princip, the Archduke and his wife are left bleeding in the car. One bullet struck the Archduke in the neck, the other his wife in the stomach. Both die within the hour.
Poland, September 1939. The German foe begins its ruthless march of conquest and sets the stage for World War II. Poland's 34 million inhabitants, crushed, scattered, and enslaved. Tens of thousands of square miles of territory shrink before the movement of lightning-armored columns. Poland and the world learn the meaning of a grim new word, blitzkrieg. Here is shown the initiation of that phase of modern warfare. These pictures of the preparation for attack and later the actual combat were all made by German frontline cameramen.
Shortly before 6 a.m. on Friday, September the 1st, 1939, German forces crossed the border into Poland after a huge aerial and land bombardment. The force and speed of the invasion shook the world and gave the dictionaries a new and terrifying word, blitzkrieg. In a matter of hours, the German Air Force had destroyed the Polish railway system and shot its air force out of the skies. But far more than that. From this day on, the Second World War was inevitable.
You should come with me to the end of the world without telling your parents and your friends.
We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history. A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima.
The crew takes one last photo before takeoff. They're given cyanide pills in case they're captured.
Of course, the shockwave hitting us was the indication it had worked. Therefore, I felt that success had been achieved.
To that alternative, I think the bomb was an enormous relief. The wars.
After the atomic blast that ultimately killed about 140,000 people,
We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history. 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 In history.